Hello. Recently, I've been experimenting with the before input event, which is part of the input event spec. That's still experimental, and not all browsers support this. In fact, only Safari implements the full spec right now, and Chrome and Firefox still lack support for some things, mostly related to composition text, like characters with accent and Chinese. And the before input event gives us information about changes on, for example, content editable elements before they're applied to the DOM. And so I'm going to create a content editable element here. So to show how it works, like we can add the content editable prop on any element. And if we go to the browser, now that div element, like, you can see that there's a div with content editable true here. We can type that element and even do things like making selection like bold, something like that. But there's a lot of problems with this approach. If you are familiar with the React terminology, this would be considered an uncontrolled component, which should not be a problem, except because like if you want to do something based on the changes the user makes here, like saving the contents in a database or something, you have to observe the DOM and kind of normalize it because the DOM that's generated is not consistent across browsers. Like it's much better today, but there are still some inconsistencies. Let's go back to the editor. Let me remove this. So, but with the before input event, we can prevent these changes from happening and control what's going to be rendered using even like React components. So I'm going to create a ref here. Ref, use ref. It's going to be a div element, no, and add it to the element ref. Okay, and now I need to attach the event using an effect. And okay, grab the element ref current. If the element is if there's no element, throw new error. Ref was not passed to the element. And now we can create the handler on before input and element dot add event listener before input on before input return element remove event listener before input on before input. And TypeScript still doesn't have types for the before input event, so I'm going to create a new type here, type before input event. It's going to be input event, actually input event, and it's going to have two additional properties. The first one is get target ranges. It's a function that returns an array of static range, and data transfer. It's optional and it is an object data transfer. Okay. So now we can update the event with that type before input event. Cool, and we can call here event.prevent default. Let's open the browser. So now everything I type, like I'm typing like letters here, is not rendered because we've prevented this default behavior. So let's go back to the editor. And there's two important pieces of information we get from this event. One of them is the selection range that's going to be affected, and the other one is the input type. And the range we can get from this event that get target ranges, and it's an array, but we just need the first item. And let's console log the event, the range. So you can see that the input type property changed based on the action I'm doing. If I press a character, it's going to be insert text. If I press enter, it's going to be insert paragraph. And like if I open the context menu and go to like font bold, it's going to be format bold. And nothing really happens here because we are preventing the default behavior. But we can decide what to do in response to these events. And there's a lot of input types. You can see them all in the W3C documents here. So let's make something with this event. I'm going to create an element very similar to a multi-line text field or a text area element without like any formatting. And first I need to create a state value, set value equals with state. I'm gonna give initial value. And okay, had to pass the value as a children to the content editable element value. I also need to add the suppress content editable warning prop. Otherwise, React will complain about it. And yeah, I need to add some style so it like white space appears like in the text area. Pre-wrap and word wrap break word. Yeah. Okay, now we need to update the value here in the before input event. Let's listen to the value state, and here I'm going to create a new update value function. It's going to receive data that's optional and it's a string. And if there's no range, throw new error, range is not available. And if data is undefined or null, let's also return. So there, we need to do two things here. The first one is like select, actually set next selection range, and then set next value. So let's set the next value. I'm gonna grab the value, like the private value. We'll just say this, and before value should grab pre value substring 0 range start offset and after pre-value substring range int offset and next value is going to be equal before and data and after set value next value. Oops, next value. Cool. So here I'm just slicing the value based on the affected selection range. because the user may be like editing the text at any position, like at the middle of the text or at the end of the text, or even at the beginning of the text. So let's continue. Let's create a switch on the event input type. So case insert text, then break update value event.data. And I hope it works. Okay, I'm gonna just use this. Okay, let's see the browser. So now we can insert text and control what's being rendered. But what happens here is that since we are mutating the DOM programmatically, the selection is reset. So we have to fix that. I'm gonna create a ref get next range ref, use ref. It's gonna be a function that returns range or null, and by default it's gonna return null. And we need an effect, and the effect will listen to the value as well. So const element ref current, if not element, and throw new error, ref was not passed to the element. Const next range, get next range ref, the current, let's get the next range. If there's no next range, if it's null, then we do nothing. Otherwise, we get the selection element owner document get selection. Cool. If there's no selection, throw new error. There is no available selection. And we remove all ranges and add our next range. Add range, next range. So whenever the value changes, this is going to check if there's a new range and update it on the selection. And finally, we have to set the next range on the update value function. So const get next range. Let's create next range, new range, and next range set start. It's going to be range start container, and the offset is going to be range start offset plus data.length, because after we update the value, we need to change the selection, so like the cursor is right after the data that we just added. And we're going to collapse the selection to the start, like to start, true, and return the next range. And finally, we are we're going to assign the next range to the next range ref, get next range. Cool. Let's see the result. So cool, now I can type like anything, and the selection is properly updated. Now we can respond to other input types. So I'm gonna copy and paste a list here. Let me grab it here. Oops. Yeah. But the only problem here is that some of these input types put the data in the event.data property, and others like insert from paste put on the data transfer object. And since we're creating a simple plain text field, I'm going to create a function to get only the plain text data from the event. I'm going to call this function get plain text data. It's going to the data. It's going to receive the before input event and return event.data, or if it's null or undefined, it's going to return data transfer and get data text plain. Cool. So now I'm gonna replace the event data here with the function get plain text data passing the event. Cool. So now I can also paste text here like this. You see that the event input type is insert from paste, and data is null, but it has a data transfer object here. Another thing we should implement is the delete types. There's a lot of them. I'll just copy and paste them here. And cool. And we can use the same update value function here because the range we get from this get target ranges function will have the correct information, so we can slice the current value properly here. So we don't need to figure out what's a word for example. So let's see the browser, and yeah, now we can delete text too, even like in a selection. We can see that the even input type is delete content backward. Another thing we have to do is reacting to the enter key. We have to listen to two input types. The first one is insert line break and also insert paragraph and break, and we can reuse the same update value, but now we're gonna add a new line. So we should be able to insert a new line here by pressing enter, but it doesn't work. I have to press twice, but even so, there's a bug when I start a new line with a composition text like this. So I'm gonna show the workaround I found for that, but it's really not ideal. I would love to have a better solution for that. But my workaround consists of adding an empty character here. It's like U200C, and it needs to be like a string concatenated like that. And even though this is an empty character, it still counts in the selection. So we need to make sure that the user can't select this uh, character. And for this, we're going to create a new effect here and listen to the value and do the same thing, like const element ref current, if not element, throw new arrow ref was not passed to the element. And we can grab the document element owner document. Cool. and on selection change. Document, add event listener, selection change, on selection change. Return document, remove event listener, selection change, on selection change. So we can only add the selection change event to the document. We cannot do that in the element. So here we first need to verify if the element is the current focused element. Active element equals element, then we do nothing. So we'll only do something if the content actable element, this content actable element is the focused one. So we need to grab the selection, document, get selection, and if there's no selection, I'm going to throw another error. There is no available selection. And now if selection focus offset is greater than the value, the length, and this means that the selection contains the empty character at the end of the value. So we have to fix that, and we do selection set base and extent selection anchor node, and we're gonna make this. I'm gonna put exclamation here. Math.min value.length selection anchor offset selection anchor node and value.length. So here we are just making sure that the end position of the selection is the value length if the previous position was greater than that, which would contain the empty character. So in the first position, the start position is either the value length, if it's a single cursor, or if it has if it's like a selection range, it's gonna be like whatever it is, the start offset, which is this anchor offset. And here I have to change this for the backslash. And so with that, we can create a new line by pressing enter and type any character. There's still one thing that's not supported here, which is undo and redo. There's a way to implement that and leverage the native browser undo manager, but we can talk about that in another post. And for now, I would say that it's a really complex text area. It's better to just use the text area element, but I think we can use that control to make a more robust block editor with complex blocks, which is what I'm trying to do right now. And I'll share in future posts. And I'll leave a code in the box with the code in the description and in the post. And that's it.